Hey everybody, it's .NET Coder coming to you guys once again. I just kind of want to give you guys a quick heads up that right now I'm going to be doing a special report. We're meeting with a gentleman from NationalLibertyAlliance.org. Again, that's NationalLibertyAlliance.org. And right now, joining us is Gerald, who would like to speak a little bit more about what it is we're going to be talking about. Also, about the grand jury docket. I guess that's going to be the beginning spot. So, Gerard, definitely we appreciate you joining us. And if you would, good tell the audience exactly what it is we're going to be going over today.
Well, I gotta want to make people familiar with this case that we the people have filed in the federal court and gave notice to all our leaders, all our congressmen and president and everybody. We sent it out everywhere, and we sent it by mail and fax and whatever any way we could. And in this master case, it's the grand jury doing a redress of grievance for them to answer of the different things that are going on in the country. And it's a huge case because we included everything. I mean, we had the things going on out west with the Bundys and the Hammonds, and we have CPS cases that are being abused, and all this stuff in the country. And we basically met as a grand jury, and we filed this paper in order to put them on notice that we want these things adjudicated. And we actually did some indictments as a result of some of the stuff that went on. And we expect them to respond. And in the paperwork, we give all the authorities of how we did this and why we did it. And, our site explains a lot of it, National Liberty Alliance, but the paperwork does too. And if you look at that docket, that case number with the redress of grievances, all these cases are like teaching tools. As you read them, you can learn. And especially, the footnotes that we have on there. But nevertheless, we have a case open in the court now that they're playing games with us, and we'd like to get the word out in order to pressure them to move the case ahead. And we've been filing stuff, and they're
Right,
still putting it on the docket, but they're not answering. They're stymieing us,
right,
and it's up to the people to put some civic action pressure on them. I mean, we have a few more things that we can do as far as pushing them on the legal process. We're always coming up with stuff to pressure them now. Other than the next thing in that, uh, if you in on that docket case is the next paper, which was the writ of mandamus that we file to with Magistrate Stewart. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. We file this case, and we ask for a magistrate, because a magistrate is a traffic cop. He's not making any decisions, because that's under common law. It's under a jury, and the jury makes the decisions. The judge doesn't make any decisions. He basically he
right,
signs the orders. He
right.
makes sure that things run orderly, but he doesn't make law from the bench. He doesn't get involved in the case. He's just there making sure that there's an orderly thing. And when you
Gotcha.
and when so then when you put in an order, he's to sign it. When you go back and forth, and then there's an order to be done, then the judge should sign it. Or the jury comes to a conclusion, the judge has to record that and put it on the record. That's what his job is, to put this stuff on the record. And that's what we want. We want this stuff on the record. Of course, they don't want anything on the record, and so that's why they're pushing back on us. Now, I mean, if you look at this mandamus, we did this after we indicted the chief judge for breaking into our case 6 months into it, and closing it down and saying that you guys can't do this because you need a lawyer, because our paperwork said, we're assembled in all 50 states. We've reconstituted the common law grand jury. We gave all the sightings of why that should be done and how that can be done. And We quoted U.S. versus Williams, where Judge Scalia actually did a dicta in a case that really, really laid out the power of the grand jury and how it operates, at arm's length from the court, and how they cannot tell the people how to set this up. Now, we understand that a prosecutor and some other people, like a sheriff, can bring a grand jury into existence because they have knowledge of a crime. But make no mistake about it, the people can do it themselves. As a matter of fact, that's what we're supposed to be doing, because that's how you control your government. Usually when the people put a grand jury together, it's not for a murder case, it's for government actors gone rogue. And that's where we, the people, get together and investigate them and indict them. And then that, which would take it to a trial jury to go ahead and examine the facts of the case. So, right now we have these things sitting in on the docket with indictments that need to be acted on. And so basically, we're in the 3rd District of New York. We may move to another district to get another judge. Meantime, we got Donald Trump on the top pushing against all these judges, who are all hand in hand in the same conspiracy, protecting each other. And he's been appointing new judges, which is good. This case here, the way it's written, and it really needs a judge that will follow the law, as has always been laid out. Look at our, in our country, it's common law. That's the basis of law. You're either going to get an equity trial or a constitutional trial in Article 3 court. That's the only 2 courts that we have.
Right.
So it's your right to demand that, and we do demand it when we go in. We explain what that court is and what its jurisdictions are. And you know what? If they didn't like what we did when we put that paperwork in and we said, we accept your oaths and bonds, this is a court of record under the common law, they should say something immediately. So under the law, silence is acquiescence. And to let us go 6 months, he's already recognized our jurisdiction by letting us go 6 months. And then all of a sudden he breaks in. They give us a magistrate, Daniel J. Stewart. And we're filing different things in it and filing paperwork and memorandums in the case. And then all of a sudden, this Lawrence Kahn, who is the chief judge of the 3rd District, comes in and says, "Oh, wait a minute, you're representing all the people, all these people in all these states. You can't do that. You need to be an attorney." I don't know why he thinks that.
Right. So with that said, though, Gerard, what I'd like to do, I'd like to pull up your website if I could, and actually kind of like dive into specifically what you're saying. So under the grand jury docket, I guess, is where we're going to be looking. Is that correct?
Right. You go to the grand jury and then go down to grand jury docket.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. I'm there now, and our audience will be seeing this. So it shows here that you filed with the Northern District of New York. Of course, that's 445 Broadway, Albany, New York. And so you've got the grand jury, sovereigns of the court, we the people, against U.S. Congress, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, ETAL defendants. So specifically, as I'm scrolling down, it kind of gives more or less the synopsis of what this particular redress of grievance is, right? And of course, I'm going underneath of it now, and I'm looking at, wow, man, I mean, there is a tremendous amount of papers that have been filed, along with another whole column that's outlining evidence, and I'm assuming that has to do with different reports and different confirmations from the, I guess, legal system. And then we're looking at law documents, information and writs, the habeas corpus, and non-judicial foreclosures. So, wow, so it seems like there's a whole lot of things going on here. So if you could kind of round up for us exactly Okay, you guys have filed this and filed these many different papers, and it seems like this is like a case that's ongoing, but it's never going to be heard by a judge. So, if you could kind of give us a synopsis on exactly what is that, what does that mean, specifically for people that otherwise wouldn't have any idea of what common law is.
Well, look, it's a redress of grievance to the government. You know, that's part of our right. The redress of grievance is part of the First Amendment. It says the people can petition the government for redress of grievance. And you know, the first guy that really did that a lot was Bob Schultz of We the People when he petitioned the government for redress of grievance. And basically, they said, yeah, you can petition us, but we don't have to listen. That's like saying, yeah, you have the right to vote, but we don't have to count the votes. It was a ridiculous, you know, conclusion that they came to. So this redress of grievance is built into our Constitution. It's built in to our heritage, and they have to answer. And this is the people who are the authorities. Look, it's not the Supreme Court who's authority. It's the we the people ultimately, because when you have a jury decision, even the Supreme Court can't overturn that. That is the highest court, a petit jury, unless there were rights, unalienable rights violated to come to that conclusion, and then that would have to be brought forward. Then the Supreme Court can come in and overturn that. But other than that, they can't touch it. When the people speak, that's it. And that's where we rule on the law. We do jury nullification. We might think that the law is being misapplied or it's a bad law or whatever, but that's where it comes out for us. That's really our strongest voice into the government, is in that jury box, basically, and the grand jury. And the grand jury traditionally has always been used to audit the government, watch the government. If you read our U.S. versus Williams case that we quoted under, if you look under law documents, U.S. versus Williams is the first one. That's a very strong case that outlines the power of the grand jury. So this is the grand jury putting in complaints of the people on these specific things. Now the evidence is stuff that we had people come to us. We took evidence, we heard evidence, we collected documents. We have all this evidence that on these different cases that we have filed, and some of them we've even indicted on them, like the Lavoy Finicum. We've indicted the actors on that murdered him. There's indictments that need to be answered,
Right.
regardless.
Yeah, so
And
with that indictment, or with those indictments, they're all falling under, is that, if I'm not mistaken, are they falling under the same case number, or do they all get different case numbers based on the jurisdiction? I'm just not real clear.
well, look at desperate times call for desperate action. Right now, those indictments are under this case number because we, the people, need a place. You know, they won't let us. They really should have just given us a room and let us adjudicate. And then, if we give an indictment, then they hand it off to a prosecutor and then assemble a jury. They don't want to do that. You know, we actually had to. They wouldn't take our paperwork unless we paid the $420. Well, when did you ever hear of a grand jury paying $420 to go into court? We did it because we wanted it on the record, and you know, we're going to make sure that we get that money back. You know, and
Right.
and hang on while this phone gets done ringing.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
while you're dealing with that, so real quick, as I've been, I guess, a member of National Liberty Alliance now for a little while, and I can tell you there is a wealth of information here on this particular site. Right now, we're talking specifically about the grand jury indictments that you guys have went forth under We the People, and actually had filed. But I've also noticed that under the specific case number, the indictments actually go well beyond the actual murdering. There's also a lot of well-known names that also show up in these indictments, such as Hillary Clinton, such as James Comey, such as a whole lot of other different kind of folks. Do you want to touch on that a little bit and let our viewers know exactly how that ties into everything that's being done here at National Liberty Alliance?
Well, in the course of gathering the evidence on particular cases, such as what went on out west, we followed the trail, and it led back to all those people. They were all complicit, in the problem. They all aided and abetted, or were actual players in, and that's why you have names like Hillary Clinton, and that. This is actually what I didn't realize, but I realize now of what was going on. It's actually connected to the uranium one, because that's why they were going after these ranchers and burning them out, because of the things that they wanted to do. And Harry Reid's son with his so-called solar farm deal of China, which basically that was a lie. I think they were going to mine uranium in that area. They were going to give the Chinese, fenced off, that you and I would never get into or never know what they were
Right.
doing there.
So they effectively went after these people because they were on so much land, and that land was potentially rich in uranium. Is that what I'm
Exactly.
getting? Okay, so
Right.
that's
Exactly.
so there's much bigger conspiracy here, because from what we understand, the local law enforcement was also involved in all of this, right? So
Absolutely. They
and
they got players from the top to the bottom to help facilitate their plan. Now, that's not in this case, though, because weren't aware of it. But that's what's come out since we filed this stuff. Now it doesn't matter why they did it. We went after them for their crimes of burning them out and for the things they did. We didn't mention uranium or anything else in here. We mentioned the government unlawfully, illegally taking ranchers' lands and grazing rights away. We didn't know why they were doing it. It didn't matter. They were breaking the law. Now, knowing what we know now, it even makes more sense, because now we understand why they did it, right?
right, so evidently there's always something else that's going on before anybody knows about it. So just through the investigative process, if you will, and as more and more details came up about other items, then these things became known, and the evidence actually kind of surfaced. So effectively, what we're saying is now. This initially started, as we the people, getting indictments on specifically murder, and now I guess it's snowballed now into uncovering a bigger, deeper plot, as it applies to this uranium one, and the fact that it seems to be that the previous administration that used to run our country kind of sold us out, and now 20% of the uranium now is in the hands of one of our biggest adversaries. So if they would have gotten that land and perhaps mined even more, then we're talking about a considerable more amount that I guess nefarious actors would have potentially got their hands on. Does that sound pretty accurate?
Oh, there would have been no end. It would have been ridiculous. We would have been done as a country. I mean, it just, I can't even imagine where it would have went to if Donald Trump didn't get in and it did get stopped. But the other thing is that uranium one and that murder and all that is only one piece of this case. We also have in here CPS. We have non-judicial foreclosures. They're stealing people's houses. It's all in here, every last bit of it. And look, we have people that come to us complaining about things, and we look into the facts of what they're doing, how they're taking their property. We say, well, that's not legal, and that's not legal. And so then we go ahead and we include it in the case. Our vision was that people that have cases, that want to bring cases into the federal court due to a bad CPS where they stole their kids unlawfully, or they took their property unlawfully too, that they can attach to this case and say, look, at the facts of what's going on in my case are actually in this master case, this 116 CV 1490, and I would like to attach my case to that, because when you decide that, you're going to decide my case, because the facts are the same, because they don't change their MO. And
Right.
you know what we didn't realize when all this CPS garbage was going on? What we didn't realize is that was probably the child trafficking that they're chasing now.
Yeah.
We didn't know. You know what I mean? We
Right.
were just
Right.
trying to help we the people.
Yeah, and
But
so
all
that's
this,
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's really blown up lately, because we were actually just reviewing this in QUNIVERSE News not too long ago. We were actually reviewing the amount of arrests that have like completely spiked when it comes to this particular administration going after the different pedophilia rings and child trafficking and all that. I mean, the numbers are dramatic. And like right now, I guess as of just not too long ago, it is on the record. There are 24,000 sealed indictments across the United States right now. Sealed indictments that are in all of our courts, and they're all sealed, and usually it's about 1 to 2,000 a year. And evidently, this actually started occurring. I believe it was in October, November last year. So from that time to now, of course, you know that's a tremendous amount of sealed indictments. Do you have a take on that, and what exactly you think that might be leading to?
Well, I'm hoping it's along the lines of what we're doing. Look at I understand that Donald Trump was very smart when he got in, and he researched this before he got in, and had the cooperation of the military. But in order to do what he had to do, he needed to take out the rat lines. He needed to take out their money and the bottom. I mean, look at they're saying child trafficking brings in more money than drugs. I mean, that's amazing because everybody knows war on drugs, war on drugs. We spend millions and billions of dollars. How could we actually let them abuse children in this nation and in the world because it's worldwide? These tentacles reach all the way over into Asia, Philippines, all over the place. But these actors are mainly here, but they're all over the world, where it actually exceeds the money that they make on illegal drugs. That's disgusting.
Yeah,
That
that
really puts it into perspective.
Yeah, and I
And
think
so,
myself and all our viewers, they can totally relate to that. I mean, one of the most horrific things that can be done is that of harming a child. I totally agree with that. Now, so the good news is, I guess in summary, with what we're talking about, the president, right, has, since December 21st, he signed an executive order. And the executive order, of course, is against human trafficking, child trafficking, and corruption. And also in this executive order, he's also put a sentence in there, more or less declaring us, at a national emergency. Okay, which really affords him all the presidential powers, under the Constitution as it applies to our law enforcement. And now we're seeing some of these left-leaning states really kind of push back on them, with the sanctuary mentality and all that stuff. And technically, they really don't have a legal leg to stand on. So I just kind of want to bring that up real quick before diving back into these indictments. What is your opinion on that?
well, I think first of all, Donald Trump is a genius because every president since Roosevelt has had to sign this emergency executive order putting us in a state of emergency because technically we're operating under a bankruptcy. And so what that does is it makes the money legal because we're in a bankruptcy situation and we don't have legal lawful money that Congress puts a value on. We got something called the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal or nor reserve. So every president that's gone in since Roosevelt has had to sign an executive order putting us under a state of emergency. Well, he turned it around and used it against them. He said, "Yeah, you're definitely right. We have enemies, foreign and domestic, and we're going to sign this executive order, and it's going to be these 7 companies, which happen to be tied into all these actors over here, and the Clinton Foundation and all of them." And he used the laws that they've put in over the past 8 years under the Patriot Act and everything to go after them. He turned it on its head and he did it masterfully. And that's a great thing. And
That is
so
great. Yeah.
that is really going to help. Well, look at what we were doing here with our case and filing this papers. If Donald Trump hadn't come into office and did what he did, we'd probably be working in a vacuum. We'd probably get nowhere. But
Right.
because of what's happened, I think that this is going to see the light of day. I mean, it seems to me that they're doing the same thing that we are, but you see, we have what we have is what he wants. He wants to. If the people don't step up and help Donald Trump, he has no credibility. And he asked the
Yeah.
people to help him. Well, guess what? This gives him all the credibility he needs. If they grab this case,
Absolutely.
we got actual people and actual cases and actual evidence. Nobody can say that he's crazy or operating outside of whatever. You know what I mean? because
Yeah.
we
Yep.
have it all right here.
Yeah.
And
So
I want to bring your attention to the front of this case. You know, when we do our paperwork, you know, you're looking at that front docket case number, and you'll see there it says jurisdiction court of record under the rules of common law, and then you see a little footnote 3, action at law footnote form C form 7. Well, unfortunately, when we put this paper together, since it was so big, we didn't include the footnotes in here, which explain that. Which I'm going to ask John to go ahead and put that in because that's very important. But if you go over to the next thing, which is if when you go down for Papal's file and you see magistrate show cause, if you bring that show cause up, you'll right. It
okay.
says United States District Court. It says writ of mandamus to all officers of the court, Magistrate Daniel P. Stewart.
Okay. I'm having a hard time. Is it top, middle, or bottom?
Actually, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me go back. There's actually a better one probably to show you this. Wait a minute.
Yeah, because I do, Gerard, I do recall reading the one you sent to the Supreme Court. I remember that. It's a redress of grievance. I remember reading that one. But of course, you guys have a lot of stuff over here, so I haven't had the opportunity to really dig through it all yet. But
Well,
I'm hoping to.
this is all good stuff as far as you know what it is. If you go to the writ of mandamus to show cause or act, which is like the second or third one in that papers file, second one.
Okay, so 102404, the writ of mandamus to court
Right,
officers. Okay,
right.
okay,
To show no writ of mandamus to show cause, the second one, not the first.
oh, got it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm popping that up now
Yes,
for our
writ of
viewers.
mandamus. Right. So pop that up, and I just want to run through real quick the style that we write these papers in, which is
Got
this
it.
is common law. And when you look here, you'll see the first line: Magistrate Daniel Stewart is commanded to take judicial notice. Now, Daniel Stewart is the magistrate that was assigned to our case, and then Kahn came in and tried to dismiss it. And you'll see that we put him as a defendant here. We gave him a writ of error, and we actually indicted him at one point. And then we put a show cause into Daniel Stewart because he really should have stood up and stopped him from doing this, because it doesn't matter he's his boss. That's not an excuse. You can't stand there. It's like Nuremberg. Just because you've been ordered to by a superior officer, you're not supposed to obey illegal things, right?
Right, right.
So when you go in here and you read Manuel Daniel Stewart is commanded to take judicial notice, you see the little footnote 1?
Yes.
Now you go down to 1, judicial cognizance, and it explains what it is. Judicial notice or knowledge upon which a judge is bound to act without having it proved in evidence. Black's Law, 5th edition, jurisdiction is the authority by which the courts and judicial officers take cognizance of and decide cases. Blah, blah, blah. See what I'm saying? We don't put, these are not our words, okay?
Right, right.
These are the law. This is common law, and we draw from Black's Law. We draw from American jurisprudence. This is the way that courts are supposed to rule and act, and these are the laws that we have in place that come from Magna Carta and from tradition, the laws written and unwritten. You know, this is it. That's why
Right.
when you read these cases, you're going to be educating yourself,
So
because you're going to learn these terms.
right. So you're also referencing some previous cases. It seems. U.S. versus Tweet, U.S. versus Pruden,
Oh yeah,
Carmine versus.
Marbury versus Madison, all of them. Yes,
Right.
when they fit, because that gives you credibility in the case. You always want to cite previous Supreme Court cases, because we're saying that those cases make our point.
Right. Right. Gotcha. Yeah, and I noticed that there's this kind of really cool quote. If you don't mind, I'll read it real quick for our viewers. It says, "Will be an evil day for American liberty if theory of a government outside supreme law finds lodgment in our constitutional jurisprudence. No higher duty rests upon this court to exert its full authority to prevent all violations of the principles of the Constitution. We, parentheses, judges, have no more right to decline the exercise of jurisdiction which is given than to usurp that which is not given. The one or the other would be treason to the Constitution. Could you comment a little bit about that and about the behaviors of some of these judges and some of these people currently in our judiciary?
Well, isn't it funny how there's nothing new under the sun, is what I want to say. Now that was footnote 3, I believe, and that was Boyd versus United States. So there's a Supreme Court ruling that was part of the what the judges wrote in that Supreme Court finding.
Right,
So
right.
so there was a case, and they saw it necessary to expound upon this. And yeah, I mean, isn't that what's going on today? I mean, you
Right,
you
right.
have no more right to decline the exercise of jurisdiction which is given than to usurp that which is not given, and they're always usurping their jurisdiction. That's one of the things that we have to fight against. That they don't have jurisdiction over us when they're doing all these evil things to us. They do not have jurisdiction.
Right. So, Gerard, what I'm going to help you and help National Liberty Alliance is I'm going to help get this word out, okay? Primarily because we've all known people, right, that had to deal with the judiciary at some walk of life, whether it's a light thing or if it's a real serious thing, right? And we
Right.
also know there's a lot of people right now serving a long time, if not their lifetime, in prison because of the way the judiciary has operated. And if it had operated under the common law, I'm fairly certain, the outcomes would have been a lot different for a lot of these folks, right? But because right now, I personally believe, and you and I, we've shared these discussions before, uh, I personally believe that this is the second American Revolution. This is the cabal that's going against our government that has really infected everything, that has got all these people, kind of on the take when it comes to the elected officials. When you've got somebody elected to office at a salary of $174,000 a year living in a $4 million mansion, well, I don't know how your calculator works, but mine doesn't work that way, okay? So you can actually just see, just by following the money, okay, that there is a lot of shady dealings going on. And so at the end of the day, the American people, all of us, the American people, all patriots, they need to become re-educated, if you will, in the notion of common law, in the notion of our Constitution. And the Constitution, usually they use the points of the Constitution when the Constitution is being read. They're not reading, right, the real detailed portions of it, right? And so as it applies to the common law and as it applies to all the things that you guys do a fantastic job, teaching everybody. And so with that, I want to encourage all of our listeners, all of our viewers out there, to go to nationallibertyalliance.org, okay, and they offer online free training in civics and in common law and a lot of other different things. So please go there, sign up. It's free to sign up. They do ask if you can, try to help support them because it costs a lot of money to actually keep this paperwork in flow with these particular jurisdictions. So I just want to make sure I called that out. We've already exceeded our 30 minute mark, and I figure what we're going to go here for another 10 minutes or so and kind of wrap it up. So I guess in conclusion there, Jared, do you have anything that you personally any kind of messages you personally kind of want to get out there to anybody out there that's listening that's in a position, and let's hope it's the POTUS, right? But that's in a
Exactly.
position to do something because we the people are doing something about it, and we the people are coming together to make sure, right, that this information hits the masses. So I'll let you go ahead and finish up, with your comments, and then I'll go ahead and close up this particular special report.
Yes. Well, look at we have noticed them. We have asked the Attorney General Session to send in prosecutors and judges, and we would like them to do that. I mean, these are cases that we the people have brought forward, and it certainly gives them credibility in as far as some of the stuff that's going on. This is actual cases with actual people, and they need to act. And now is the time, because there's an awakening on, and like you say, this second revolution of bringing the country back to its roots of its original intent, which if we would have never left, we wouldn't be in this shape. So, we're hoping that we get the people in there, and it only takes a few people to wake up and do the right thing, to light that brush fire that will burn in people's minds, and they'll understand immediately. And yes, I mean, if things were done right, we wouldn't be the biggest prison population in the whole world, bigger than China. We wouldn't have all these people sitting in prison, because most of it is victimless crimes that they had no business convicting them under. Statutory garbage is like land on the community chest and pay $100 and go your merry way, or go to jail. So, I really would implore those people that sit in those offices of authority to exercise that authority, especially when paperwork like this, that is using our common law and our heritage to bring this stuff, to go ahead and facilitate it, and learn it, and bring it to fruition where it belongs, under the laws of the nation and under the law of God. And that's where we're at. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm praying for.
Well, that's really cool, and I'm really glad. I'm really glad we had this opportunity to sit here and meet. And Gerard, I would really like to ask you to come on with me some more. And I kind of want to. I know we just kind of skimmed the surface here, because evidently you guys have been working on this for quite some time. And I know that there's a lot more information to be had. So again, I'll just remind our viewers to go out there at nationalliberyalliance.org. Okay, sign up. It's free to sign up. There's a wealth of information here, guys. A wealth of it. Get yourself up. You've got founding documents. You got the Federalist Papers. And you got the Federalist Papers and the anti-federal list papers, yeah, and different biographies of our folks and state constitutions. You have different essays and lectures, American history lectures. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Common law lectures. All kinds of information on the political front about the Congress, the Supreme Court decisions, etc. There's different books that you can involve yourself with, along with the judicial. So, guys, I definitely encourage you, go to nationalliberyalliance.org. Check them out. It's a really, really good, tight organization. And Gerard, I want to really thank you for joining us. Because on QUNIVERSE, our job is to get the word out to the American people. We want to give them the unfiltered, unbiased news, and we want to give it to them straight. And so right now, all of us patriots, right, we've got to come together, right? And anybody that's following the Q phenomenon, Q often tells us, we're stronger together, than we are apart. So again, I'd like to also thank you for joining our Patriot partners. So for every episode that we actually put out, we're definitely going to be calling out nationalliberyalliance.org for being our Patriot partner. So again, everybody, this is INET Coder, and we definitely appreciate you guys, joining us, and we also hope that you guys stay tuned for some future special reports that we're going to be breaking. So again, thanks a lot, and until next time.